from you today, right? Somebody needs to hear from you. If you are a business owner, if you generate leads for a living, if you sell something for a living, I get it, man. Like some of you may not know, I work on Sundays. I take Friday and Saturday off as my weekend. I work on Sundays. The last thing I wanted to do is have back-to-back 6 conversations about pre-approvals and buying a house in LA and all that kind of fun stuff. And the bottom line is those people wanted to hear from me, right? So I would encourage you, regardless of what you're feeling, regardless of what you're dealing with today, reach out and talk to some people. Might be about business, might be personal, might be whatever. Just reach out and talk to people. So Scott Groves in the Generate group, kind of a weird day to be talking, but we are covering this book, Lead Generate 61 Days to Double Your Pay, because even in a time of calamity, right? Business has to happen. For a lot of people, business has to happen right now to rebuild their business. So we're going over day 13, and I think this is a really good day actually to be going through this. And it's the idea of if you don't follow up, they won't follow through, right? If you don't follow up, they won't follow through. And I'll read here, one of my first paid coaches in the business was this gentleman named Todd Duncan. He used to preach and still preaches the following line: if you don't follow up, they won't follow through. And I wrote an example of how this shows up in many industries across the board. And I'm just going to read here for a minute. This quote is extremely relevant in almost every industry. In the fall of 2017, I had ballooned to my highest weight ever, 224 pounds. Spoiler alert, got pretty close to that again during this quarantine. For context, I wrestled in high school at 152 pounds. When I got out of the Army, I was a pretty fit 170 pounds. And at times in my 20s, when I was boxing, playing volleyball, and like insanely fit, I was 180. I used to laugh at guys like my dad who let themselves cross over 200, even 250 pounds, just thinking like, man, how could somebody get that out of shape and that heavy when they're working so hard? Needless to say, I found myself at this very same place as I approached 39 years old a couple years ago. So what did I do? I did what most guys do: signed up for an expensive gym, did their initial one-on-one free training session that came with like every new membership. The trainer that I worked with during this complimentary session was insanely knowledgeable. He was really, really fit without looking like overwhelmingly fit or good looking. Good personality. Everything was really great about him. I looked forward to him holding me accountable as I was committed to my fitness goals. We left the complimentary session with a plan to talk within a week. He was going to send me some dietary supplement recommendations, some eating habits, and I was ready to drop $2,000 for, I think it was like 20 sessions one-on-one. Working together with him seemed like a foregone conclusion, right? Like I was in the mindset where I wanted to get fit. He was in the mindset where he was a personal trainer selling fitness packages. And then the unthinkable happened, right? He never followed up. So I never followed through. By the time he reached out 2 months later, presumably because things had slowed down or his management was on him to make connection calls and do the things that we're talking about throughout this book, I had already fallen in with a workout group for my office and didn't need his individual attention and accountability. I'd already lost a couple pounds and was feeling better. I found what I needed elsewhere. And this trainer lost out on probably, $1,000 in personal income for himself and $1,000 for his company. I highlight the story from my personal life as a reminder that even when a client is committed to us and to themselves, they still need the follow-up. If not, we encounter the very real possibility of not closing the easiest of sales. And then I go on to ask a couple questions about how can you consistently follow up with the client and referral source you may have forgotten about. How can you follow up with the ones that may have forgotten about you? What CRM or spreadsheet system are you using? Basically, what kind of follow-up system are you using in your business, right? Because I don't care how amazing your product is or flashy your sales techniques are or how deeply you connect with the client. Like if you don't follow up, they won't follow through. I'm sure if you're a business owner, a salesperson, you sell a low ticket item, a high ticket item, you sell a relationship, you sell a package, it doesn't matter. At some point in your career, you've talked to somebody where you felt the connection was great. You felt for sure they were going to use your service or product. You felt like you were adding value to them through their service or product. And then something happened, right? They disappeared. They stopped talking to you. They stopped responding to your emails. You saw them close the deal with somebody else on Facebook. You got some type of trigger alert that they bought the product elsewhere or had their credit pulled with somebody else, or however it is things go sideways in your world. I'm sure that has happened. And the natural human tendency, of course, is always to blame it on somebody else. Oh, they went somewhere else. They weren't committed. They found the product cheaper. Some salesman scammed them into going with their service instead of my service. No. At the end of the day, a vast majority of those opportunities fall apart because we didn't follow through. So what I would have you think, right, as this Generate series is all about helping get the economy back on track, getting you back on track, getting your business back on track. Who is it in the business world? Who is it in your ecosystem? Who is it in your sphere? Who is it who's a past client or somebody that showed interest in your service who you need to follow up with, right? Again, I don't care if you're a loan officer or you run a tree trimming business, right? If you run a tree trimming business, somebody has reached out to you in the past and not bought from you. And chances are they didn't go elsewhere. Chances are they didn't end up, finding somebody half the cost to trim their tree. Chances are they just didn't trim their tree, right? Because you didn't follow up with them. Oh, sorry, large truck going by outside. Oh, what is that? So in this tree trimming example, chances are they just didn't trim the tree, right? The tree is even more overgrown now, dropping stuff in their pool or becoming a hazard to fall on their car. Because the thing is, people don't do a great job of following through, right? That's why more people are obese in America than are fit, because it's very easy to just keep doing what you're doing and not follow through with your health and fitness goals. So what I would say is somebody needs to hear from you today. One, probably emotionally, intellectually, shoulder to lean on. A lot of craziness going on in the world. I don't feel qualified to speak about all of those issues, but what I can say is somebody needs to have a personal or business conversation with you where you can throw them a lifeline, help talk them through something that they might be dealing with today. Number two, there's tens or dozens or thousands of people who you need to follow up with, because if you follow up with them, they will follow through and buy your service or your product or deepen the relationship or set a new expectation for the relationship. And how can you systematize this going forward, right? How can you systematize some type of follow through? Because if you don't follow up, they won't follow through, and you will, over the course of your life, leave tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars of sales on the table. And that's not cool. So anyway, if you know somebody who needs to get their business back on track for one of many reasons, please add them to the Generate group. All we're here to do is to add value. We've got some great interviews coming up this week. I'm looking at a few people that we're talking to. Tomorrow, we're talking to one of my favorite human beings, Elise Archer. She's all about building your personal brand through answering good questions on social media. On Wednesday, we're talking to a lawyer who's a self-employed businessman. He actually serves as in-house counsel for small businesses that aren't quite big enough to have a full-time lawyer on staff. We've got some great interviews coming up. So add your friends, right? Just go into the Generate group, upper right-hand corner where it says enter name or email address. Add friends of yours who you know are business owners, lead generators, fully commissioned individuals, anybody who needs to make a sale for a living. I would really appreciate it. Tag them in this post. And by the way, if you're rewatching this on Facebook or YouTube, can you just leave a comment, click the like button, something, just so I know people are watching. It's always fun to talk to myself on this camera, but I like to know that other people are watching. All right. Love you guys lots.